The Big 12 and the ACC are getting their chance to try to shape the future of the college football playoff. May not matter in the end, but they're getting their shot. Should this be the start of a beautiful budding relationship between the Big 12 and the ACC? Should they begin now working together moving forward? I think they definitely should for both conferences' sake, but especially, wink, wink, the Big 12's sake. I think it would be very beneficial for the Big 12. So shout out to my guy, Paul Catalina on 365 Sports. I went on there earlier today and had a blast as always. But he posed this question to me like, hey, the ACC and the Big 12 are basically working together here to try and get some sort of different playoff format out there instead of this 4-4-2-2-1-1 model with 4 auto bids for the ACC and Big 10. Shouldn't this just be the start of a working relationship between them in general? Like, why would you not do that? And that really got me thinking about it. I was like, I hadn't put too much thought to that, but it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, first and foremost, we know that they're fighting for the same thing right now. Okay, they're joining together to fight the SEC and the Big 10 on the playoff. And the most recent report on this from Ross Dellinger is that they were able to make their case here within the last week. So here's Ross Dellinger's tweet. The 4 power conference commissioners met today for a second time in the last 10 days as they continue to explore a variety of 16-team playoff models, including a compromise for the Big 12 and ACC discussed in the story below. And that was a story you can go back a couple of videos ago. I went through most of the major details of that story, but a part of it was something that really got me on board with the ACC and their strategy here, right? It changed me from being like resigned to the Big 12 should probably just sign on the dotted line, take their 2 auto bids in this format to, all right, bleep it. Let's fight. Let's go. Let's join arms with the ACC. And it's because in this story from Ross Dellinger, the ACC, the quotes coming out of there, man, they were not ready to just lie down. The ACC is setting a nice tone here, whereas Brett Yormark declined to publicly comment in this story. ACC admins and coaches were all at their spring meetings, and they came out firing. Here's a quote from an athletic director. Quote, "No one likes it." Talking about the playoff format being proposed. Dave Doran, NC State head coach. "We are fighting for our spots. We believe we deserve 3 automatic qualifiers as a minimum." That's gutsy. That's gutsy. Saying not only is this 4-4-2-2 thing BS, we need at least 3. We need at least 3. Pat Narduzzi, Pitt head coach, generally crusty individual. He said, "I think you should earn your way in. It comes down to the image of the Big 10 and SEC and where they are, and there's a lack of respect for the ACC. I don't like it." North Carolina AD Bubba Cunningham, quote, "I don't understand why you'd ask for a guaranteed spot other than 1 automatic for conference champions." So the ACC was ready to go. So a part of, I guess, why I would say, hey, link up. I mean, the ACC seems to be ready to fight on this. And if they're going to do it, you better join them. I don't know that the Big 12 has much of a choice, at least in this instance, to like really join them and take up arms, especially because Notre Dame has also spoken out against this behind closed doors. So you kind of, even if you're Brett Yormark and you're mulling over this decision and thinking like, man, actually, I mean, look, BYU in a 16-team playoff last year still would not have made it because we just don't as a league get as much respect as the big brands in the ACC. And that's why they could have possibly had 3 teams that have been a 16-team playoff. It's a little risky for us to do this. If it winds up being all at-larges, then that could be bad for us. You got to fight. You got to fight because right now the ACC has decided to fight, and I picture it kind of like the Brave, it's like a Braveheart type of scene. Yes, Braveheart. I don't know. I'm not a good movie person, guys, but this big field, everyone's on the front lines, ready to go charge, and you're standing there, and somebody hands you a big spear and some armor, big old shield. Like, what are you going to do? Just turn around and go home? Leave them hanging when they're handing you the battle weapons to get on the battlefield? Like, no, man, you got to do it. You got to do it. Really, whether you like it or not, you've got to go do that if you're Brett Yormark, okay? And so I think that's what seemingly is happening right now. But then do you continue this partnership afterwards? I think there's a lot of benefit for both schools, no matter what happens, whether you're successful in changing the format here or you are not. you're going to have to, one, schedule each other. I mean, that's probably the most obvious and immediate glaring need for a partnership here between the Big 12 and the ACC. It's that you're going to have to find games to play in the non-con, because especially if the Big 10 and SEC get their way and they get 4 auto bids, a big chunk of the reason they want that is because they want to be able to schedule major non-conference games against each other without worrying about losing that and then losing a playoff spot because of it, right? They want guaranteed playoff spots so they know it doesn't matter if you lose non-conference games. Literally, Matt Rule was just getting crushed for comments that he made about this very topic and being scared of playing non-conference games earlier today. And I'm going to talk about that later on in the show. But the SEC and Big Ten want to do that to schedule each other. They're already talking about scheduling each other. They have set up meetings. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to play you. If you're the Big 12 or the ACC, they're not going to play you. So you need to do the best you can to keep your strength of schedule at least as relatively high as you can by playing each other. Get the biggest brands that are left in both conferences to play each other. There's also, I think, just a strength in numbers advantage for both leagues, right? Look, if you are the SEC or the Big Ten, they are the bad guys. They are the ones laughing from their ivory tower up top. And instead of having to worry about you trying to climb up the tower there to get them, they would much rather you just be fighting among yourselves. So like, I still see a decent amount of Big 12 ACC bickering back and forth and fighting about who is better. That's what they want, because that will keep them in power with less trouble. You know, if they don't have to deal with the plebes down there rising up against them because they're all too busy fighting each other. That's the whole idea, right? That's the whole idea. They would love that. So the more that you can band together and not be doing that, I think is better. I think that is better. Strengthen numbers with all of that. Just have a unified front, and you're going to have a better chance of at least curtailing some of what the ACC or rather what the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to do, and pushing a bunch of toothpaste out of a tube that can't be put back when it comes to the future of college athletics. Now, here's the kicker, okay? And this is the part I almost have to whisper, because I do think all these advantages are pretty mutually beneficial. But there's another ancillary benefit here for the Big 12 if you do start working with the ACC regularly, okay? We know that Brett Yormark's a pretty sly guy, okay? We saw how he worked Colorado, using, Big 12 old connection, Colorado, to get in, pry them away from the Pac-12. Eventually, everything else fell. All right. If you start developing more of a relationship with the ACC schools, you get in the room with them more, you get on conference calls with them more, just start a little networking. Why not? Get Brett Yormark close to Louisville, Pitt, Virginia Tech. Dare I say Duke? Basketball, Get them in the same room. Get them talking. Get them chatting. Get them developing a relationship. Get them becoming comfortable with each other. And, I don't know if you paid attention to that agreement that the ACC came to recently with Florida State, Clemson, whatever. Their settlement, sure seemed like it locked them into like a 5-year clock before the conference is, if not going to be done, it's going to be severely disrupted by the big brands leaving at that point. Might as well start networking with those other schools, develop some relationships. So when the time is right, when it's all ready to go, you can play the long game here and be ready to strike a little bit quicker. I'm just saying, please, like I said, don't tell the ACC I said that, because I want them to do this deal, and I don't want this to blow up in our faces here. So we got to keep it quiet. Okay. All 507 of you that are in here right now, do not say anything. Okay. And yes, I agree. The eye patch, we can't be calling it the Alliance. Okay. You can't actually call it the Alliance. You are very, very much correct about that. We're not going to do that. Don't write it on a napkin this time, and definitely don't let Kevin Warren anywhere near it. Okay. Do not let Kevin Warren anywhere near whatever sort of working agreement that you're going to have between the Big 12 and the ACC. That's going to be bad news for all involved. So, just some thoughts there. Just some thoughts there on what could be to come between the Big 12 and the ACC.